Alright, so welcome back to Useful Entertainment. You know me, Marty, and then that guy, Riley. That's the guy that bought that 72 Buick Skylark with the super awesome Chevelle racing stripes up the hood and the trunk, and then the GS stripes up the side and over the wing. So, a couple people have been asking me about that car, what's going on with it. You guys bought it, put the Craggers on it, and that's it. Really, he's just been driving the shit out of it, and it runs and sounds and drives like shit. Alright?
Well, it drives like a stock car that's not running too good.
It drives like a stock car that has like a distributor problem. It seems like, what would you say? It seems like it has like a distributor
It's like an
issue.
idle hesitation at idle under load. Otherwise, it drives fine, except for the loud tap. But
It drives alright. He put a 4-barrel intake on it with a Holley 750.
yes.
Yeah, it's got a 750 on this clapped, no compression having. It runs good for what it is, and it gets really good gas mileage. I don't know how. But anyway, he's also got that black 69 Electra with the 430 that blew up last year in September. So he's got another 430 that's been sent away for a year at a machine shop getting fixed. And he's gonna take that 430 and put it in the Electra. And then he decided, let's take that 430 and put it in the Skylark. And then plans changed again. Oh, by the way, that Skylark's got a pretty wicked rod knock at cruising speeds.
Rod knock, lifter tap.
It's not a lifter tap, that is a rod knock.
Rod knock, lifter tap, piston slap, whichever. Or rocker arm knock. You know, it could be a few different things.
So the Buick 350 and that Skylark's pretty tired. That Electra needs an engine. We've only got one 430 to play with coming from the machine shop. So we're gonna put the 430 in the Skylark. But then we're like, wait a second. Wait a minute. Scratch that, put the 430, the new one, in the Electra. Make that car what it's supposed to be. And Riley wants to put some power to that Skylark. So what's the easiest way to put power in an old car like that? You perform what Buick purists would call sacrilege, and you replace that Buick no oil pressure having Buick engine with a Chevy big block. And that's exactly what this episode's about. Riley here just picked up, what'd you pick up?
So, about last week on Tuesday, I seen someone posted up a 454 on Marketplace for $300 with a Turbo 400. And I'm like, well, shit, like that's a really good deal.
No, hold on, let me cut him off. He's been looking for Chevy motors for a while. 396, 454, don't matter.
402, whatever.
Everybody wants like $1,500 for their clapped out motorhome engine that you gotta come and like remove yourself. And for months, like, what the fuck is wrong with people? All I want is the rotating assembly in the block. All that other,
Yeah,
but it's a
fucking
complete motor. Yeah, but I gotta throw it all in the trash. I'm not using those heads or that smog pump or any of the junk that comes with it. I'm not using that intake or that.
peanut board heads, fucking no lift cam.
Right. But it's a big block and it's complete. 1,500.
And a lot of them are like 91 and up, which are Mark 5s, which are almost unusable for my application anyways.
So Riley's messaging all these people. He's like, what were you saying?
Oh, well, it started, the funniest one was a guy had a 454 block for $350, and then the pictures he had the rotating assembly. I said, does that come with the whole rotating assembly? And he's like, oh, well, why don't you find me a 454 complete block for $350?
Oh no.
I'm like, well, why don't you fucking post? He's like, oh yeah, I want 250 for a crank, 150 for a set of rods, and 150 for a cam, and $300 for heads.
Yeah.
It came out to like about $1,500 for shitty parts.
So anyway, Riley's hitting these people up. He's like, see, this is exactly why people LS swap everything. Because you guys are pricing this shit out of anybody's league. And then the guy's like, whoa, LS will cost you just as much, blah, 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 blah. Bro, we can get them for $300 from the junkyard we go to. My junkyard sells them for like $1,200. So anyway, he bought a 77.
Well, let's start back. I found this engine on Marketplace for $300. And I was like, well, I gotta go look at this now because it's not gonna last. So I drove down 2 hours to Pasadena, Maryland, and found the guy. And the guy had like a 69 GTO convertible and a 71 Chevelle, and like he knew what he was talking about and shit. And well, and then there's the motor. There was sitting in his garage.
Wait, which one? This motor right here? Or is it this? No, that's a Ford motor.
I think it's that. Well, no, maybe.
Or is
not
it that junky Ford motor under the bench? Hey.
Maybe it's this motor.
Hey. Hey. I had the right to remain silent, but I didn't have the ability. Anyway.
Maybe it's this motor. No, it's shitty.
Does anybody want an Olds 350? You can come and get it for free. It's a 69. It's just a rotating assembly. Alright, so here's this big block we're talking about. Get some light. You don't have a phone on. Hang on. Alright, so anyway. Back to reality here. Here's this motor. It's a 77 block out of a half ton.
1 ton.
1 ton. And anyway, somebody, I'm gonna let him tell the story in a minute, but there's a story behind this engine that is so good, it's almost, I think it's actually funnier than Elvis dying on the shitter. Like, I thought that was the funniest story I've heard, but I'll just let him do the talking. So how'd you get this? You went down to pick it up, and
so I went down to pick it up, and the guy had it. He wasn't like the non-existent person. And so yeah, I was looking at his cars and shit, and this was sitting here. And I was asking what the story is on the motor. He goes, I don't know anything about it internally, what's done to it, you know. He said, this guy back in the late 70s had a 396 and a 67 Chevelle. And he was drag racing it. And eventually that blew up, okay? So we got this motor, and he must have done some work to it for you know, the drag racing stuff. And his family, while he was working on it, could not get in contact with him at all while he was working on it. He's just so busy working on it. And then so the one day they went over there, and they found him hunched over Chevelle with this motor sitting in it, dead. He dropped the motor in the car, slid the motor mount bolt through, not even get the nut on, slid the motor bolt through the motor mounts, and died. Had a heart attack right there.
they found him with his hands around the ratchet with the bolt and the clamshell, trying to bolt it into the car. It was a complete motor. Riley pulled the head off just to examine the cylinders and all that. The guy just had the motor freshly rebuilt. He was installing it into this 67 Chevelle. And, yeah, had a heart attack, died, dropped over right there, hands on the motor mounts. And his family found him that way. And if that's not as funny as Elvis dying on the shitter, I don't know what is. So in a way, it's like a ghost motor. So what ended up happening is the family, basically as it sits, no intake, no valve covers or anything, just dropped the hood on the car and pushed out in the field. Then the guy I got the motor from said he bought the car 20 years later and pulled the motor and it's been sitting on his shop floor, and then he sold it to me. It's a 77 1-ton. It's got 781 heads, which Chris says are really good heads. And I haven't tried to spin it over because the cam's all locked up in there. But the cylinders are really nice. I assume the bottom end's pretty nice. If you look through the hole for the drain back into the timing cover, it's got timing gears. So I suspect the guy did at least put a cam in it. And this transmission is a 400 and it was in it as well. I mean, you could sell that transmission for $300. What you paid for the whole package. You know what I mean?
But it's going to need, you know, the heads rebuilt. It's going to need the lifter bores cleaned out and a new cam and some other small shit. It's going to need an intake. Going to need push rods. Going to need rockers. That's like the one thing the guy didn't do was he didn't install the intake. So when they found him, the family did what they did with all his junk and sold it off, whatever the fuck happened. And it had no intake on it for 20 years. Like Riley was saying, the guy had the car since the 70s, but this happened, he died 20 years ago, like 2002, some shit like that. I think he died in like this, in the early 80s.
You're telling me this has been like this since...
And the guy bought the car, and then it's been sitting in his garage, in his heated garage.
Oh, so, well, anyway, this motor's been sitting.
So it sat outside for 20 years with a hood on it, and then it sat for 15 years in this guy's garage.
Okay. So when you look down the valley, because there was no intake on this thing for whom knows how many centuries, yeah, the cam's destroyed and the motor needs disassembled and rebuilt, obviously. But the fact that, you know, you can still see cross-hatching in the cylinder walls is a very, very good sign. And what Chris was saying is that since it came out of a school bus, dump truck, whatever application of Chevy truck, it could possibly be a 4-bolt main engine. We don't know yet because the only thing this guy's done is taken the head off just to look.
But the old man did do the head gaskets on it, have the heads off.
Well, yeah, the whole motor's been rebuilt. Derp. So, if anybody wants a 69 Olds 350, there it is. Come claim your prize. I'll sell it for like $100. But I don't feel like waiting. If you show up here, you can just take it.
Hey, wait, Marty. Do you think we can reuse these?
No. Not unless you want to use 3 cans of copper coat.
You should end the video on that note.
And that's about it for that motor. That's just what it is. He wanted to put a big block in that Skylark. That 454 is the way to go. For a car like that, it's a mutt Skylark. There's no point in keeping it. Bill Gates price Buick motor, you know what I mean? So the other projects are, you know, he's still working on this Trans Am. That's the one that I used to have that I sold his dad because I don't have the time. I just don't have the time or the will to fix this car.
We want me to go over what everything I've done on it? 2 years?
Not really. Hang on. Let me turn this radio down.
That's 2 quick once over.
This is the 81 pace car. Let me clear up some confusion per se. Everybody's asking me about the Trans Am all the time, and I say which one, the 80 or the 81. The 80 pace car resides at my house. That's my dad's. He bought it brand new 42 years ago. This is the 81. I bought this when I bought this for myself as a 20th birthday present 10 years ago. And man, did I drive it like Burt Reynolds. This thing's been airborne and through yards and all kinds of shit. But anyway, I didn't have the time or money I didn't have the ambition to play with this car.
Will?
I didn't have the will, so I sold it. He's got a gas tank he's dropping in it right now. There's that.
Well, quickly.
They got what?
Over the last 3 years, I've been working on it out off camera away from the videos. But basically, all I've done is had this front bumper completely repainted, and then still gonna do the pinstripes. I cleaned up some of the wiring in the engine bay.
No striping on the bumper yet. He cleaned up some vampire clamp wiring shit that was going on.
Then I put new shocks in the front and the rear, because it had those shitty Red Riders all the way around. And the funny one is when I took the Red Rider out of this one, I undid the bottom 2 bolts, and the whole shock body just fell out of the car and left the rod hanging. So I did KYBs in the front, I did air shocks in the back.
Yeah, you went with Gabriel air shocks in the back. Somebody had this thing shackled way too high in the air.
And then there's the shocks. Got the new gas tank. Got the new shackles in.
Yeah, he put factory shackles in this thing. Factory shackles with air shocks stretch the springs back out because they're going flat. This thing really did sit like this. It sat like a stink bug.
Yeah, here, I'll pull them. It actually was so bad that it was bottoming out the shock on the suspension.
This thing is a WS6 car from the factory, and it handled worse than my brother's 85 Riviera the way they had it set up.
The 2-inch shackle or more, maybe even like a 3.
Ooh.
The other one's like, the hole's like right here.
Yeah.
And then, so there's that. I'm still gonna get the gas tank in it, and I bought a fuel injection. My dad bought a fuel injection kit.
Yeah, his dad wanted to go all fuel injection-y, so there's a kit in that box somewhere.
It's a Edelbrock, one of those Edelbrock port injections, not a TBI job.
Edelcrotch. So he's got to get a computer for it, but other than that, it's a complete system. And that's that. And then you guys never seen the 71 Ford pickup truck 302 3 in a tree ship box that he drives around that somehow still runs and drives. pretty cool truck, but he's got this 351 that he's got on a stand he got out of the junkyard. There's just so much shit going on around this place. Between all my junk and his junk and...
The bike.
This is what we do, man. It's very expensive. If I ever just took all my stuff and just sold it, what could I do with my life?
It's almost like the more shit you have laying around, the less you're willing to work on it.
Unless you're Austin Navarro. That guy keeps picking up all kinds of crazy shit down south in Texas. I don't know where that guy gets his ambition from. That guy buys a new project car every week, and he works on them.
Thick ass bar for the back of the Skylark.
Yeah, all you did was he paid for that sticker right there. Yeah, that's for the Skylark. Paid $100 for it. So yeah. Anyway, that's the '81 Recaro Trans Am that's here now. And the motor, just in case, probably most people don't know what's in this car because it never got any channel time. Supposedly, this is a 71 455 out of a GTO. What heads does this thing have?
It's got 6X heads, so I think they're 74 to 76, 455 or 400 heads.
And we have no idea what gears are out back in this thing. I was told they're 373s. I don't think they're 373s. I think they're a little more steep than that because the car does not like the highway, period. And say you're doing 35 miles an hour, just climbing a hill, and you floor it, the car will just go sideways. It's pretty radical around town. It'd be an excellent car to take to an 1/8 mile track, but highway use, this thing is useless. So.
Oh, and it did cut the shitty mufflers off.
Oh yeah, he cut the shitty Flowmasters off, and he got a set of Cherry Bomb Vortexes. Now, when you hear the name Cherry Bomb, don't assume glass packs, because that's not what it is. They're actual cased mufflers, and they sound really good.
Yeah, I put them on everything.
Yeah,
Skylark will be the third car.
Yeah, we do put them on everything. Vortex, look them up. So, before we ramble on for the next 3 hours, we're gonna cut this video and stay tuned. I got more stuff coming up. I just don't know what it is or what order it's in. I have so much to play with. It's really luck of the draw. It's when I wake up, do I want to go outside and work on something today? And if I do, which car am I going to work on today? Maybe I'll tinker with the Camaro, maybe I'll do something with the Cutlass, or maybe I'll come over here and break shit on his stuff when he's not looking because I think it's funny. No, I'm gonna stop.
What?
So, oh, and right on the other side of that wall, that's where that Lincoln Town car is at that you saw in the last episode. All right, everybody take it easy. Have a good one. Don't do nothing I wouldn't do, and I'll see you later. Bye.